There was a time when Hollywood followed its own chaotic and rebellious rules. And to put it simply, the censors hadn't stepped in to control the party yet. Before strict production codes slammed the door on creative freedom, filmmakers released stories so bold and outrageous that they can still leave modern audiences stunned and ignite endless debates online. But which of these classic shockers would be criticized, roasted, or even cancelled if they premiered today? Are you ready to discover the kind of movies your great-grandparents secretly watched when no one was looking? Stay with us because some of these films go far beyond anything currently sitting on your streaming watchlist. Babyface, 1933. Let's begin with the explosive cinematic bomb known as Babyface. If you believe ambition is only about hard work, Lily Powers is about to completely change your definition. Imagine Barbara Stanwyck portraying a cold-eyed survivor who uses every advantage she has, including her beauty, to climb the corporate ladder. But this isn't some modern empowerment fantasy. Lily is forced into a harsh world by her own father, who exploits her from a very young age. The film never hides the methods she uses to move upward. In fact, nearly every step of her rise is connected to a different man she manipulates along the way. Studio executives knew they were handling something dangerously controversial. Audiences in 1933 were shocked by a woman who didn't simply break society's rules. She burned the entire rulebook and built her success from the ashes. This wasn't just risky dialogue either. Babyface shows Lily navigating a system stacked against her while seducing and discarding men from the mailroom all the way to the executive office. To many viewers at the time, the film represented pure immorality. The backlash was intense. The original version was so daring it was banned, cut apart and forced back into editing. Even the approved release caused censors to panic, and the film still sparks debate among historians, feminists, and classic cinema fans today. In a modern era where studios carefully avoid controversy, Babyface would likely have public relations teams sweating and social media exploding with outrage. If you want to see the true origins of Hollywood's rebellious female characters, this movie delivers the ultimate statement. The Divorcee, 1930. If you think divorce stories are dull legal dramas or daytime television plots, The Divorcee completely destroys that idea. Imagine the cultural shock in 1930 when Norma Shearer appeared on screen as a woman who leaves her unfaithful husband and demands the same freedoms men have always taken for granted. This wasn't just a simple drama. It was a direct challenge to society's double standards. Shearer's character Jerry discovers her husband's affair and decides the only fair response is to have her own romantic adventure. The twist. The film never punishes her for it. Instead, it follows her journey as a newly independent woman determined to reclaim her dignity, freedom, and enjoyment of life. In a time obsessed with moral purity, Jerry's refusal to accept marital hypocrisy felt explosive. Audiences were scandalized. Critics reacted with outrage. Studios prepared for backlash while censors attempted to trim the film down. Yet despite the controversy, The Divorcee became a major success, igniting debates in magazines and earning Norma Shearer an Academy Award. If it premiered today, it would likely dominate social media discussions with its bold attitude. But in 1930, it felt like pure cinematic rebellion. Jerry didn't just end her marriage. She had the final word and secured a place in film history. The Public Enemy, 1931. Crime stories were already common in movies, but The Public Enemy went much further than simply flirting with darkness. It delivered a high-speed ride through the dangerous world of Prohibition-era America. Imagine sitting in a theater in 1931 watching James Cagney swagger across the screen while brutally climbing the criminal ladder. This film didn't hint at violence. It displayed it openly with a raw intensity that shocked censors. From the legendary grapefruit-in-the-face moment to gun battles and ruthless betrayals, the movie refused to soften its depiction of organized crime. Cagney's character Tom Powers is both disturbing and strangely fascinating. He isn't a cartoon villain, but a believable product of poverty, corruption, and desperation. The film acted like a mirror reflecting a nation divided between criminals and law enforcement. The public reaction was dramatic. Newspapers warned families about the film. Religious leaders condemned it. Politicians began attacking Hollywood for promoting moral decay. The movie quickly became one of the main examples used to justify stricter censorship in the industry. If released today with its unfiltered violence and morally ambiguous characters, it would undoubtedly spark endless debates about glamorizing crime. Yet despite the controversy, The Public Enemy changed cinema forever. It transformed James Cagney into a superstar, made gangster films wildly popular, and forced audiences to confront uncomfortable realities hiding beneath society's surface. Blonde Crazy, 1931. If you expect classic romantic comedies to behave politely, Blonde Crazy will surprise you. Once again, James Cagney takes the spotlight, but this time the focus is clever schemes instead of gunfire. He plays a quick-thinking bellhop, always planning his next hustle, while Joan Blondell portrays the sharp-tongued partner who can match his wit perfectly. Together they scam, flirt, and outsmart nearly everyone they meet, including each other. The movie isn't merely suggestive, it's mischievous from start to finish. Dialogue overflows with double meanings, flirtation appears in nearly every scene, and the camera hints at things traditional films preferred to avoid. During an era when women were expected to behave modestly and men were expected to follow clear moral paths, Blonde Crazy presented a female character just as daring and ambitious as the male lead. This certainly wasn't a polite love story. Audiences loved it even while critics and censors protested. The characters break rules constantly and are never truly punished for their behavior. Instead, their cleverness is celebrated. The ending also avoids a clean moral resolution, leaving viewers wondering who was really manipulating whom. Millie, 1931. Then there's Millie, a film darker and more uncomfortable than many audiences expected from early Hollywood. Helen 12 Trees plays a woman attempting to survive in a world determined to defeat her. She marries for love only to discover her husband is habitually unfaithful. Instead of quietly accepting humiliation, she leaves him, refusing to remain a victim. But her path to independence becomes messy and difficult. Millie struggles to support her daughter and eventually forms relationships with wealthy men whose intentions are far from pure. The film refuses to judge her choices, challenging viewers to sympathize with her difficult situation. Some moments are deeply unsettling, including a disturbing storyline involving a predatory man showing interest in her daughter. When it premiered in 1931, audiences were stunned. Critics described it as dangerously modern and warned it might damage traditional values. Even today, certain scenes remain powerful enough to make viewers uncomfortable. Call Her Savage, 1932. If you believe pre-code films only hinted at controversy, Call Her Savage completely destroys that idea. This dramatic comeback for Clara Bow delivers rebellion, chaos, and scandal in nearly every scene. Bow plays Nasa Springer, a Texas woman whose life is defined by impulsive decisions, emotional turmoil, and constant defiance of social expectations. She drinks heavily, fights openly, and storms through romantic relationships without apology. The film also dives directly into subjects that were extremely taboo at the time. Bow appears in revealing costumes, including a famous moment suggesting she is wearing nothing underneath. The story even touches on racial tension, sexual freedom, and includes a brief scene set in a gay nightclub. NASA's life story is chaotic, tragic, and emotionally powerful as she battles a society that tries to control her. Africa Speaks, 1930. Another controversial example is Africa Speaks, though its reputation today is complicated for different reasons. Directed by Walter Footer, the film follows explorer Paul Heffler on an expedition through regions like the Serengeti, Congo, and Uganda. While marketed as a travel documentary, the film heavily relied on sensationalism. It portrayed African cultures through stereotypes and even staged dramatic events, including a scene where a man fights a lion, widely believed to have been filmed in a Los Angeles zoo. What once appeared educational now feels deeply exploitative. Over the years, the film has been criticized, mocked, and largely hidden from mainstream audiences as an example of outdated documentary practices. Red-Headed Woman, 1932. Jean Harlow created one of Hollywood's most daring characters in Red-Headed Woman. Her character Lil Andrews is a secretary determined to escape poverty by seducing wealthy men and climbing the social ladder. She manipulates relationships without guilt and ultimately becomes richer and more powerful. What shocked audiences most was that the film never punishes her actions, a direct violation of the moral lessons studios usually insisted on. 3 on a Match, 1932. 3 on a Match tells the dramatic story of 3 childhood friends whose lives take completely different paths. And Dvorak's character Vivian falls from wealth and comfort into affairs, abusive relationships, crime and addiction. The film portrays her collapse with brutal honesty, shocking audiences who were unprepared for such realism. Trouble in Paradise, 1932. Ernst Lubitsch's Trouble in Paradise presents a world where charming criminals fall in love while planning elaborate thefts. Instead of condemning their actions, the film celebrates cleverness and sophistication, which angered many moral watchdogs of the time. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, 1931. Frederick March delivers an unforgettable performance in this dark adaptation exploring addiction, violence, and humanity's hidden desires. The transformation scenes were groundbreaking, and the disturbing themes pushed the limits of what audiences could handle. Tarzan and His Mate, 1934. This pre-code jungle adventure shocked viewers with daring costumes and sensual underwater scenes featuring Maureen O'Sullivan. The film openly depicted Tarzan and Jane living together unmarried, something considered scandalous at the time. Night Nurse, 1931. Finally, Night Nurse stars Barbara Stanwyck as a trainee nurse who uncovers a horrifying plot involving starving children and a cruel chauffeur played by Clark Gable. The film explores abuse, corruption, and moral ambiguity with shocking intensity. So which of these rebellious pre-code films would cause the biggest controversy today? Would you watch them, or do you think modern Hollywood has become too cautious for storytelling this bold? Share your thoughts and tell us which movie surprised you the most. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want more fascinating movie history that refuses to hold back. Let's keep the discussion going.